If our phones are so smart, why do they shatter to pieces when they leap out of our hands and onto the soft, cushioned couch? Phones used to be able to take a concrete fall, and now the smallest hint of moisture inside our device voids our warranty and makes us regret not covering our device with a bulletproof brick. Security issues, planned obsolescence, and no headphone jack. There might not be any keys on your phone, but it's likely the key to keeping you connected to the world. Why we can no longer flip out over our dependence on our phones. Today on Talkily. Hello everyone, this is AWC. Today I'm here with Sid.
Hello.
With Cody.
Hey.
And with Laura.
Hey everyone.
And today we're talking about smart devices, mobile devices, and our smartphones. How they've changed our lives and how we've become dependent on it and how we're just sick of it. Or I don't know, I'm sick of it. How about you? I don't know about you guys, but I'm really sick of it. I used to love my phone. I loved always being connected and always having essentially the internet and all this wealth of information at my fingertips at any point. But now that I can be reached at like 2 a.m. in the morning, even if it's on airplane mode and I have to be connected to Wi-Fi, it's like we have to make a conscious effort to disconnect.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yep.
If I wasn't in the role that I was in and I didn't house it, I would opt not to have a phone, or at least a cell phone. Landline is totally the way to go for me.
Keeping it old school, nice.
Yeah, you know what? You can call me. if you want to talk to me, you can call me.
Well, there are some people who won't even phone anymore. Now it has to be text, right? It has to be text, and God help me if they talk in like text language. You know what I mean? Like,
yep. I have found though, and I hate myself a little bit for this. I hate when people call me. It comes up so rarely now that I get this weird, almost like very mild anxiety attack. and it's like, oh God, why? Like someone must have died.
It seems official.
Yeah.
It's like an official thing when someone calls you.
Yeah.
If you're going to text someone, it's like a more casual thing. To some people, for me, it's more of a casual thing. But if you're phoning someone, it's like I need to talk to you verbally for something so important enough that it can't be conveyed via text.
Yeah. Like for me, it's like at work. If there's something very important, like my boss or my coworker will actually give me a call and say, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 rather than say like text them and then you either hope that they respond quick enough or not, or they don't respond at all. And you're like, oh, well then it seems that I have to call them. Then it was just like the next step, right? So, and I did that a few times today, actually.
So much more efficient.
It is. It really is.
Because what it comes down to is they will answer or they don't. That's how you know how to problem solve from there.
Yeah, because if you just leave it in text, they'll look at it and they're like, oh, okay, I'll respond later. And then maybe they'll end up forgetting later. And you're like, well, did you get my text after you see that person in person? And they're like, I did, but I forgot to respond. And, it just, it's a mess sometimes.
I do just feel, though, the solution to that very specific problem is to treat texts like you would like a phone call. If someone doesn't reply after a few minutes, like treat it like they're not home and do whatever you were going to do anyway.
That's what you end up doing.
Yeah. Ideally. Or you just sit at home on the couch just waiting for a reply that never comes.
Again, I guess it comes down to depending on the situation. So, during like business hours, right? Yeah. Do that important phone call rather than just leave it to text. Or if it's not important, then leave it to text.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're in an age now where our cell phones are so important to our lives that it's very hard for us to come back from that. I mean, there used to be a point where the most important thing in your pocket would be your wallet. And I feel now, if you were to lose your wallet versus losing your phone, I mean, you'd be inconvenienced by losing your wallet. But if you lost your phone, you've lost, your connectivity. You've lost possibly credit cards, even,
So your wallet.
Yeah. Well, it's like super. It's like now the new wallet.
Yeah,
for many people.
Everything's there because like you have your personal information already there, alongside with your debit card, your credit card that's attached to your phone, right?
Yeah, and either in the case or in your phone now.
Yeah, oh yeah, in your phone, literally in your phone. Yeah, yeah, it's exactly that.
Not to mention potentially your passwords.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a password keeper, please don't have a password keeper in your phone. It's just a bad idea.
Well, it's one of those things, right? Like, what's more secure? Trusting it to a company to hold it on this, super secure, whatever, or trying to keep track of certain passwords in your head, right? And for me, I have my own system, which I, for obvious reasons, won't get into right now, on how I password protect everything.
Why not?
well, here's the thing with passwords. Like, that companies are now starting to go to, or security companies are now starting to say not passwords anymore, more like passphrases. So instead of like saying, let's use swordfish as a password, for example, you can't say that anymore. You have to say like, oh, I like swordfish because whatever, right?
Yeah.
You have to like make it very long and complicated, throw in letters, like capital letters, lowercase, numbers, even like special characters in there, like question marks, exclamation points, etc., just to make it very secure for yourself. And in fact, passphrases are even more easier to remember than passwords once you know it.
Yeah, we're even getting into biometrics. We're getting into facial recognition.
Yep. The facial recognition really throws me off.
Yeah,
because like, how good does that get? Does it need to be a 3D physical like model, or do like if someone holds up a picture of my face and I have face recognition on my phone, is it going to unlock?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think that as facial recognition continues to evolve, and Apple does this, and I know Samsung does this, they're continuously improving that. They know they can't just scan like a 2D face printed photo of yourself. They actually have to get the full 3D textures from the cameras that they use in their products. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know they're not going to stop there, because I know there's always someone out there who's going to try to find a hack around that.
Yep.
In worst case scenario, they'll probably just like, oh, we'll just make a clay model of this guy's face and go from there.
Let's take a step back. Let's think about our lives before smartphones. The old-fashioned phones, or even no phones at all.
Oh yeah, I went right to no phones at all.
Yeah, no phones at all. I was like, it was. You know what? It was actually liberating.
There's some things that that I'm really happy. I do love my phone. I know I started the episode making it sound like I really hated it, but I really do love my phone, and being able to Google stuff and go on Reddit and check out the latest news, etc. Actually, I don't play it for games, but I know a lot of people do play it for games quite a bit. But there are times when, like every time my phone drops, and it dropped earlier today while I was on the treadmill watching a YouTube video as I'm running, the first thing I'm thinking to myself is, did I break that thing?
Yep.
Is that screen cracked? Because if that screen's cracked, I've got to replace it or replace the screen, and God forbid I should be able to replace my own screen nowadays, right? With, right to repair being under attack and all that other stuff. But, I miss the days of being able to drop my phone and just being like, oh no, I dropped my phone.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Oh no, there's a tiny little scratch on it. That's okay.
Yeah.
Physical buttons still work.
It's like, the tiny scratch. It's like, oh, how did that happen? Oh, I had it in my shirt pocket and someone shot me.
But it still works, right?
Yeah, but it still works. Because that's how bloody durable they used to be. I know a friend of mine at one point had his, like, it was the old Samsung flip phone. It was before flip phones. This was just a little brick.
Yes, the bricks are amazing.
He had it on his dash, turned like pretty quickly, and he had the passenger side window open. It skipped across the dash, out the window, across the road. Someone drove over it, and it landed in a ditch. And that's not an exaggeration. And it was fine. No, not even a button was a little loose. Like,
yeah, because they're all made of like, well, the frame inside was like, I don't know, maybe aluminum or steel, whatever. And then the outside of it was all like hard plastic.
Yeah.
And it was still,
even if it was cheap plastic, it was still
durable.
Solid.
It was so good. Now you have like these phones where they're mostly made of glass, and sometimes aluminum, depending, right? And then it either the aluminum bends, and if you've bent that aluminum, you also bend the battery inside. Next thing you know, your phone blows up.
And I think, that's part of one of the reasons many people refuse to upgrade, or they want to stay with whatever they've had. Because as our devices are becoming more and more advanced, they're becoming more sophisticated, and when things get more sophisticated and more complicated, more things can break. I mean, I'm sure we all know someone who has refused to upgrade their phone or held out as long as they can. Right, Laura?
Yes, I am guilty of that. I just recently had to give up my very lovely BlackBerry Q5. And I refuse to go the buttonless route. I need my buttons. If I'm going to have a device that I despise, I at least need my buttons. So
just makes it hurt a little less.
Yeah, it just wages ever so slightly.
Baby steps.
Yeah. So I went with an Android BlackBerry hybrid. It's really interesting. Since I've gone with the hybrid, I actually don't use my phone as much because I don't like using it.
So I think Laura has just found the best way to get if you're addicted to your phone, the best way to get off your phone addiction is to buy a phone you hate.
That said, I mean, it's not like I was particularly tied to my BlackBerry. I mean, you guys would text me in the morning and I wouldn't respond until, maybe 7 p.m. at night.
The next day.
Or the next day.
The next day.
I think we all just assumed you hated us.
Yeah.
And then I would send you a lovely, email or Facebook message.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, but we knew you hated us.
Sorry.
Well, let's get into how these devices have changed our lives. Because for me, I'm inquisitive. I like to learn new things. So one thing that I will say that I do love is the ability to, if there's a question, if I have to figure out how to do something, whether it's renovations, cooking, tech stuff, whatever, the first thing I do is I Google it. I go on YouTube, I go to watch a tutorial, I try and research the answer, and I love being able to do that. So for me, that's one of the things that I feel I've been, that's one of the positive things, positive outcomes for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do enjoy having access to that kind of knowledge is fantastic. I do like, and this is also super creepy because phones, the GPSs never turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you have location off, data off, airplane mode, your phone knows roughly where it is on the planet, which has come in handy on like when I go hiking or something. And there has been a few times where like, oh, no one's been through this trail in a year. It's overgrown. We've lost it. And we can actually just pull up airplane mode, just Google Maps, and it's like, oh, we're here. There's where the trail is, and we've gotten back on course. Like, there is a use in that regard.
Yeah, and they have to leave that on there for that reason alone, and also like if God forbid if you get like lost and in the middle of a trail somewhere that you don't know about, then that's why that GPS is on all the time.
Oh, totally, yeah. It's one of those things where like it sounds really creepy, but there is an okay reason for it.
Yeah.
Or use anyway.
Yeah, I guess, hearing that story makes me think about the Amber Alerts that we get now on our phones. And the emergency messages.
Yep.
Before it would be through radio, it would be through television. And now, it makes sense for them to have implemented that on mobile devices. I do think that actually is a good idea.
It is a great idea. 100% yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my gripes with phones, I realized in the last year or two, was purely anxiety-based from social media, actually.
Yeah.
And just always being connected in that regard. That's where the vast majority of it came from. And then a few things like forced, what is the term?
Obsolescence.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That kind of thing on a very spiritual level. That offends me.
Planned obsolescence. There's one thing for companies to not make their phone as durable as it could be. And there are always financial reasons, economic, whatever. But to be fair, I guess, there was a couple years ago, there was a situation where Apple was purposely slowing down phones in order to, maintain the battery life or something like that. and there was a big outcry because people were thinking that, okay, well, you were slowing down phones because you want people to upgrade, right? And I'll give any company, any person the benefit of the doubt if I can, right? But when you start looking at trends and you start seeing everybody do certain things, do things like that, and you start seeing that your phones are you can't replace the battery yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Right. We're losing the headphone jack.
Yep.
They're coming up with new types of connections every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of standardizing something, right? Like, I mean, if you look at USB, right? There are many different versions of USB.
Yep.
But if you look at like just the standard connection between USB 1, 2, and 3, even though you have variations of those, it's the same connector.
Yeah, it's the same connector in one end. And then at the other end, it could be like USB Mini or USB-C, which is the latest one, right? Or USB whatever. And then now you have...
And they you can still use them. They just operate at the slowest speed in the link.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like different versions now. We're at like USB, well, I think we're approaching USB 4 now.
Yeah, USB 3 is now like a standard, right? And you have USB-C, but they're just talking USB 4. There's Thunderbolt, the next version of Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
right?
and then on the Apple side, like Lightning, now there's talks or rumors about Apple doing away with the Lightning connector. Now they're gonna move over to standardize everything to USB-C, but which I've yet to see that. I mean, it's probably just all talk right now, but
I think they've changed the connectors on their laptops.
Yeah.
But their phones I think are still
gonna be the Lightning ones.
Right? As of this recording.
So maybe by the time the next event next September or whenever that is, maybe it'll be happening right now, depending on when you're watching this episode. It'll be completely different or maybe unchanged. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, now we also have carriers coming out with versions specific to their phone, and this has been happening for a while, right? Where they would put on their own, what is it called? Bloatware, I guess you could crapware.
Yeah.
Whatever to call it. But now they have versions of phones that are specifically for carriers, and of course you have the carrier plans, right? Where, I was with a cellular company for like 13 years, and I wanted a better price, and they wouldn't give it to me. And like, here's another company that was offering it, so I went over there and I got a free phone with my 2-year plan. Yeah. And I was off contract, so I thought, being off contract and being able to say, "Hey, I'm going to leave unless you match what they're offering. I would rather stay with you. I don't want to switch phones. I don't want to switch over. So I want to stay with you." And they wouldn't do any. They wouldn't give me a deal. And you know what the most insulting and angering thing was? 1 week later, they called me and asked me, "Is there any way I can bring you back?"
Of course.
Yes, go back in time to a week before.
Yeah, buy out my new contract. And
yeah, exactly. They had their chance while you were there, right, in person. And then as soon as you go over to the other guys, and then they say, "Please come back with your puppy eyes." Like, yeah, QQ more.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, and here in Canada, we have a lower selection of carriers than some of the other places in the world. I'm looking at you, U.S.
Well, not just U.S., but all around the world.
Well, yes.
Yeah, but you're right. But you're right.
So I feel a little annoyed that I'm beholden to this very small population of providers, because there's not as much competitive pricing happening. There's not as much of a incentive to switch companies or even stay with a company, because they're all essentially offering the same thing.
Yeah, not to mention data plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this kills me about data plans. So it's very difficult not to get a smartphone anymore.
Yep.
And smartphones require you to have a data plan.
But yeah, you can go without it. But I mean, without it, I mean, you have to have a Wi-Fi hotspot, and
sure,
yeah, good luck finding a Wi-Fi hotspot that is open, through a guest access, unless you're in a very specific place.
But I'm saying, like, I would have loved to have opted for a non-data plan for my phone, but I couldn't.
It wasn't an option.
It wasn't an option.
You would almost have to buy the phone elsewhere.
Right.
And bring it in. And then, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do I really need Wi-Fi while I am in transit? It's sometimes nice, but you know what? Sometimes it's nice just people watching. Sometimes it's nice actually having a conversation with your neighbor.
No, never.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you, because I think that's what we're losing touch with now, is that, you know, just either just looking out the window, like if you're on a bus or in a car, you know, or just or if, and I know, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one doing this. I'm pretty sure everybody does this, but you're in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, and instead of reading the shampoo bottle, you're reading on your phone. You know, like what happened to those days? Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you remember magazines in the washroom?
There used to be.
There used to be.
Yeah.
There used to be. That used to be the thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For as great as it is to be able to do a multitude of things on this one device that you carry with you, I just wish that it would do all those things as well as it did the one thing that it was developed originally to do.
Wait, hold on. What, is it check email?
No.
Is it send messages?
Well, of a sort.
Play games?
No.
What is she getting at? Do you guys know?
No idea.
I have no idea.
No,
What- okay,
no.
what is it supposed? What is? I don't.
Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone to be able to talk to someone. Nowadays, it's just meant to be reachable from all platforms. But I'm saying, if it's going to do that, it needs to do all those things really, really well.
Oh yeah, you can call people on it.
Sorry, Alvin. I was like, I was approaching this far too, abstractly.
No. It's. I was going to see how long I could drag it.
Well,
Honestly, it's one of the drop calls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, the reliability, quality of service. That's what I was going to go at. And and depending on who you're with, it's like there's maybe one, maybe two carriers out there that actually does have very good service, and then there are others where it's patchy at times. And if you're like, say, in the middle of nowhere and you actually need help, and if you're with a carrier that isn't known for good service, then you're rolling the dice here,
Yeah. Not to mention safety of your smart device. I mean, when they're doing testing for radiation and whatnot, they're not testing it with the phone being right here. They're actually testing it from like a certain distance away. CBC, I think I'm pretty sure it was CBC did a story on this when they were talking about how like the effects of the cell phones on our bodies aren't really being accurately studied on, because when manufacturers make these phones and they test it and they make sure it's safe, they're not using real world conditions in order to test it. Like no one holds their phone out here. No one uses
Right.
I mean, people use Bluetooth headsets, but
they're placing.
they're not standard.
Yeah, because
right?
with that point, like you have people putting cell phones usually in their pockets, or like in their purses or wherever, right? But at least relatively close to their bodies, like
Even when they're not using it, yeah.
even when you're not using it, yeah. So like for me, and this is probably gonna maybe affect me and I'm sure millions of others down the road, but having your phone in your pocket right by your leg, for example, will probably affect you health-wise years from now. So it's one of those things we have to think about with cell phones and the radiation that it has, for our foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Whether it will have grave consequences or not, we'll have to find out.
Anyone have one of those little locks on their phones to hide to cover the camera?
No, I don't.
I've got one now.
Mine doesn't have that.
Yeah, no. I've put it on.
Okay, yeah.
Ever since the story came out about certain governments having the ability to watch people. So
even if you turn your phone off, I think you have to actually pull the battery to guarantee that they
Really?
can't do that. In most phones, you can't access the battery anymore.
yeah, you literally have to like leave it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're running on the lamb, just ditch the phone.
Yep. Get an old burner flip phone.
Yeah, burner flip phones. That's what it is.
Let's move on to phones of the future. Speaking of flip phones, does anyone remember the Motorola Razr?
Oh,
I remember
you're
the
looking
Motorola
at the
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that. That was like the first world's smallest phone at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like a flip phone. My cousin had it. I looked at it. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. It's so small and I remember that. And then of course there's the Razor, right? Yeah, that everybody was going crazy about. Yeah.
I was going to say, did anyone have a flip phone crack in half on them because of Manitoba cold winter?
No,
I did not.
I
did
have
not.
had two
Ooh.
meet that fate.
Oh boy.
Well, don't worry, because now your battery will die extra quickly because of the cold winter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
my old phone, I had it for 4 years. I was already out of contract, and I loved it. It's just that I had to, well, going back to the forced obsolescence, I had to upgrade because it's like, well, the battery life is like very short now.
Mhm.
And luckily I have a phone now that replaced it where it's actually very, very, very long battery life, which is great. So I'm probably, even if when I go out of contract in 2021, I'm not going to upgrade, at least hopefully for another 2 years after that.
Yeah. It used to be a thing like for me, oh yeah, every year I would get a new phone, and now why?
Yeah, why?
Because the advancement isn't as big as it was, right? It's very small, incremental now, right? So to me, it doesn't make sense. But phones themselves as well are getting way more expensive. You know, talking about that, you know, the Motorola Razr, one of the reasons I want to mention it is both because of nostalgia, right? And both because one of the newest things that's out there is foldable phone screens. Motorola is coming back out with a new version of the Razr, touchscreen, foldable, right? Touchscreen on the back, $1,500 US.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, and you know, we're seeing this trend now where, you know, instead of you having your smart device go down in price, they're just charging a more premium cost for you know, for these devices, right? To be fair to them, yeah, okay, there's more technology into it, but you know, when I see some of these phones that are out there, I don't feel like it doesn't feel revolutionary to me, you know? And it
No.
yeah,
They keep hyping it like it is though.
yeah.
Which really bothers me. Apple used to be one of the worst ones for it, but now Samsung's kind of getting on board with like my current phone has if I want to, it's got wireless battery charging. Like I can just set it down on a certain surface and it'll charge, which is neat, but it's hyped up the way if you see the commercials, like it's this revolutionary, like life-changing thing, but it's like
induction charging.
Yeah.
Not to mention like the branding for personality.
Yeah.
You know,
like the personality thing is like, ooh, it's like this will be a fashion accessory for you or something. But
Yeah.
is it really though? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, and you know, for me, one of the, you know, I was so excited for the red hydrogen one. Anyone familiar with this?
No.
So a holographic phone.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't.
oh yeah,
Of course not. Yeah.
Cool 3D effect.
Yeah.
Finally did get to see it, and I was so disappointed. I mean, yes, in terms of, you know, 3D effect, it was pretty good, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting, and certainly not what they were hyping it to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It'd either be vaporware or a hoax, really. There's a gray area about that. There's a very fine line about that. So yeah, like if they're hyping up, say, what was it? Nokia, what was this? Several, maybe over a decade ago almost now, they were hyping about like a phone where it actually pops up with buttons.
That
And you could-
yes, I was talking about.
Yeah.
I totally thought that was something BlackBerry would have benefited from.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Nokia did that, and they were like experimenting with that too, and that never came to be.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah. So where do you all see? Where do you guys see ourselves in 20 years from now in our mobile devices? Are we going to be more connected? Is there going to be you know, an urge to disconnect? Because I know one of the things that we do now is there's a more conscious effort. For example, no phones at the dinner table. You know, if you're going to go on a trip or whatever, you're going to have like specific no phone events type of thing, even if you have them handy for emergencies. Where do you see phones 20 years from now?
Well, we're already seeing it now. Wearables. You know, you have Apple Watch or Samsung smartwatches that are already in the market for a few years now. And I feel they're going to continue to evolve from that. Also, those wireless earphones, they're going to continue to evolve with that too. That's what I see. And then I guess, and then Google, they did this with the Google Glass. Like I think they backed away from that now. But I think there'll be other companies who will probably take advantage of that too, or come back and revisit that. maybe at some point if they do feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see something like Google Glass coming back as wearables get more popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I could also see maybe as wearables get more popular, more things that your phone can do, but only kind of okay, being split off from the phone into more of a wearable device that just does that thing. Like I could see it being separated a little bit in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're probably gonna maybe like diversify away from that a bit too, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if someone at least experiments with implants of some sort.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That
I feel like that's going to come eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to last as long as some people think it will, because I foresee dire consequences. But the other thing is that that's going to probably primarily shape the industry is how accessible are the minerals and the materials that
Are used.
used to create these devices.
Yeah.
like the raw materials used to make the batteries, along with the raw materials used to make the like glass, or silica, or aluminum, or steel, whatever.
Not to mention the waste caused by electronic devices.
Oh,
Right?
exactly.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's a huge problem too.
I do think we'll see like an industry picking up soon as far as recycling old phones for those types of minerals
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing.
Well,
'cause
it's starting now.
It's starting
I
now.
think it's
I think
already
I think it's
happening right
going to
now.
keep picking up steam. That'll be a big thing.
Yeah.
Because I do like a lot of the rare earth minerals in and of themselves, they aren't that rare,
Right.
but they're not common in huge deposits. Like the amount of like basically extra damage you have to do just to get a very small amount is huge.
Yeah, like lithium, for example, like there's only certain parts of the world that actually does that. Like I think it's somewhere in South America and then somewhere in China as well, but nowhere else.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I can't wait to have messages beamed directly into my brain.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Can't wait. Just sitting there in the bath, having a nice relaxing bath, and suddenly get a phone call. Hello, your computer has a virus.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh.
I'd probably just have like a signal jammer at that point.
No, I don't think you can if it's beamed directly into your brain. Just don't click on that link, or else you might find yourself wirelessly wiring money over to someone overseas.
Yeah, but in a way, you could probably brought that on yourself if you wanted that and you're beamed into your head.
Hey, don't be mad at me for implanting an imaginary device into my brain.
I mean, it is his brain.
And on that note, thanks again for joining us today on Talkily for another cool discuss. Joining me today for Not So Smart Smartphones was Sid, Laura, and Cody. Intro-outro music was Illuminate by Ethan Rank, found on Artlist. All additional music also acquired through Artlist. All images and videos in our show were acquired through Pixabay. Podcasting services acquired through Spreaker. And if you enjoy the show and would like to support us, please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Visit cooldiscuss.com, visit our merch store, or consider making a donation so we can continue to produce awesome content for you. Please keep in mind, we are just normal, everyday people talking about things we think we know something about. We are not experts on anything. Always take everything you read, see, or hear with a grain of salt. Never get all your information from only one place, and always be willing to question. This is AWC thanking you once again for joining us.